behind the scenes making this event possible, and a special thank you to all our veterans who have served and who are currently serving our country to defend our freedom. At this time, I'll turn the program over to our MCs. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Hannah, and Avery, we're going to be your MCs this morning. Could everyone please rise and welcome the Pine River Legion Auxiliary Color Guards. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing as our Pine River Baptist High School choir will sing the national anthem. Please remain standing as we go into our table ceremony. Tonight we have some honored guests who can't be with us, so we remember them in this way. Please direct your attention to the place setting in front of them over there. As a physical symbol of the thousands of American POW MIAs still unaccounted for from all foreign conflicts. According at this time, the Sergeant at Arms will advance to light the candle. A reminder for us all to spare no effort to secure the release of any American prisoners from captivity. The remains of those who died bravely in the defense of liberty and in full counting, and those missing in action. The table. The table is small, symbolizing the helplessness of one person alone against his oppressors. The cloth. The tablecloth is white for the purity of their intentions in responding to their country's call to arms. The bread plate. A slice of lemon is on the bread plate to remind us of their bitter fate and their assault, symbolic of the tears shed by those who wait.
The rose.
The single red rose in a vase reminds us of the families and loved ones who have kept the faith, awaiting for their turn of our POW MIAs.
The ribbon.
The yellow ribbon, tied so prominently around the vase, represents the yellow ribbon worn upon the labels and breasts of thousands who bear witness to our nation's unyielding determination to demand a proper accounting of our POW MIAs.
Candle.
The candle is a light of hope, which in our lives to illuminate their way home out of the hands of their oppressors into the arms of a grateful nation.
The glass.
The glass is inverted, for they cannot toast with us tonight.
The chair.
The chair is empty, for they are not here. Remember, we called them comrades, brothers, sisters, and friends. Do not let them be forgotten, for surely they have not forgotten us. We will now pause for a moment of silence in the honor of our prisoners of war and missing in action. Please welcome our elementary choir as they sing us songs, directed by Miss Noelle Johnson. State speakers. Please welcome from the girls, Alexis Reddick and Brittany Schmidt.
So Brittany, have you thought about going to girls' day yet?
Well, I don't know.
Why not?
Well, I don't think I'll like it because I'm not that into politics. To be honest, I don't really know anything about them at all.
Well, that's what girls' day is all about, learning about how our political system works.
But how do they teach us? Do we just sit in the boring classroom all day?
There are some assemblies that everyone goes to, but they always have guest speakers who make it interesting.
Did you have a favorite?
Yes, I did. Her name is Betty, and she is the most adorable old lady ever. She talked about being one of the first women to fly in the U.S. Air Force, and she was so passionate about it that it just warmed my heart.
Well, she sounds amazing. But what does that have to do with our political system?
That's a great question. Not only does Girls' Day strive to teach young women about their government, but it also empowers them.
But what does that have to do with Betty?
Betty spoke about a huge step for women's rights in our country.
Oh, I get it now. Was Betty the only speaker?
Oh no, there are many speakers that speak each day, from senators to CIA agents to attorney generals. All of them are women who speak about how they have succeeded in a male-dominated career.
That actually sounds kind of interesting. What else do you do there?
Well, the girls at Girls' State are broken up into 4 different counties that are broken up into cities. You spend most of the time with the girls in your city. You also hold mock elections in the city, county, and state level. Then, on the last day, the girls that are elected officials go to the Capitol and perform mock trials, and the other girls stay back and act as the House of Representatives of the Senate.
Well, they go to the actual Capitol?
Yes, they do.
That's awesome. I want to see the Capitol.
Yeah, the Capitol is amazing, but sadly, it was under construction when I went.
Oh, that's disappointing, but I would get to see it, right?
Yeah, you would, as long as you were an elected official. But being in the House and Senate is fun too. You discuss bills, and then you see if they become a bill or get discarded.
That sounds nice. Now to the real question. How's the food?
Ooh, the food is the best part. I mean, everything was great, but the food was the best. Every meal is a buffet. And not only that, but there's a special line where you can create your own stir fry and watch the chef throw food around like a boss. Oh, and don't forget about ice cream for every meal.
But wait, I don't want to get fat.
Well, if you're really worried about that, you get free time almost every day where you can go to their gym, play volleyball, run on their indoor track, or you can just walk or run around the campus and enjoy the beautiful view.
Was it really that pretty? And you're as pretty as me.
Well, I mean, you're pretty, but their campus is beautiful.
Well, I'm insulted. It must be a gorgeous campus. But what about the people? Am I going to get along with them? Or are they intensely into politics?
Yes, you will get along with them, and no, they are not all intensely into politics. To be honest, the girls that you meet at Girls' Day are some of the most amazing people that you'll ever meet. They are all so encouraging.
Wow, that is so cool. I want to go to Girls' Day. How do I sign up?
Well, first you need to go talk to Miss Segan over there, and she will give you more information. Then you just have to write a good-sized paragraph about why you want to attend Girls' Day and what would make you a good candidate.
But seriously though, guys, you have to go. It was so much fun. Like, I enjoyed every minute of it. The food is really good. If you're a junior, just go see Miss Segan. You won't regret it.
Thanks, girls. Now please welcome Jesse Simpson and Ben Remington.
Hi, my name is Jesse Simpson, and this spring I got the opportunity to sign up for Boy State. I've been wanting to go to Boy State for a long time. I heard about it a long time ago, 5th grade, and I wasn't sure what to expect. One early Saturday morning, we loaded a bus up, and it took a long time to get down. We had to pick up other Boy Staters from other regions and other cities, and it was held at Southwest Minnesota State University in Marshall. When we got there, they gave us matching t-shirts and we started learning right away. We learned about the brief history of Boy State and some songs. There were over 400 people in attendance, and they divided us into sections of the state. We stayed in dorms on campus, and each dorm was a county, and in each county were 2 cities. I was from Anoka of Nicollet County. Over the next few days, I really got to know my city. We held different elections and different opportunities to become part of our county board, our county. They had lots of opportunities to have fun there. We had a band in the choir. I opted for the choir because I like to sing. But we also played sports. I played volleyball for a while, but then they had too many people on the team, so I got switched to softball. And I don't want to brag, but I was voted MVP. Just saying. Throughout the week, we took what we learned and put it into practice. We held different meetings and different seminars on how to run the state on each county and state levels. We were mostly given free rein in the meetings, and it showed that there were a lot of opportunities to learn and put what we learned into practice. We learned about something called parliamentary procedure and how important it was to follow during these meetings. We stayed mostly on task, but having a few dozen teenage guys in a room it's kind of hard sometimes. Mostly we just finish early and try to make everyone laugh. On the last night, the band and the choir performed, and I thought, hey, this was a really great week, and I would love to return to it as a counselor next year or some other time. It was great to me because I had a lot of hours spent with the boys there learning and building relationships and bonds, and that was great. I love Boy State, and if any of you juniors want to talk or learn more about what goes on there or what you learn, it's not all about politics, it's about having fun. Come talk to me anytime. My name is Jesse Simpson. Thank you.
My name is Ben Remington, and yeah, I'm that one unprepared guy. But I'm sure a lot of you out there, you junior boys are thinking, look at me, I'm too cool for Boy State. Boy State sounds stupid. Well, I'll level with you. I was that kid. I thought it sounded not that fun. And I signed up for it, and I still didn't think it sounded that fun. And then I got on the bus to go. Still wasn't too excited. And I met some of the people, and I was like, wow, this doesn't look like it's going to be that fun. But then I got there. And then the people started getting a little bit better. You know, you're in a whole group of totally new people, so of course you're going to take time to have to warm up to these people, get to know them a little bit better. But slowly over time it grew on me until the time that I had to leave, and I really didn't want to go at all. I made a ton of friends. It was great. I mean, seriously, 2 hours a day, you get to go and play basketball. You get all-you-can-eat food. One time, I seriously just got a plate of chocolate pudding, just a full plate of chocolate pudding, and just ate it. It was delicious. It was just awesome. But it's a really great experience. You learn a ton. I mean, seriously, you probably, and you know, it's not only about the governmental learning experience. It's you learn about yourself. You learn how you're going to handle a situation like going off to college where you've never met anyone. And you just learn a lot about yourself and how you handle new people. And sometimes it's total whack jobs that you have to deal with. I mean, there was one person, he was like in a love affair with paper. He would talk to us about paper for hours on end. It was so boring. But it was really fun in that situation. But I don't know, it's just a really great experience. I suggest everyone in here who's a junior boy, go and talk to Miss Segan. I mean, even if you don't want to go, just go talk to her. Learn more about it. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Please join us as the band plays Armed Forces on Parade, directed by Mr. Ben Kinzer. welcome the first one, Mr. Chuck Weaver.
Good morning. I'm a Navy. The reason they had me up here is I'm retired Navy. I retired over 30 years ago. I retired as an E9, which is the highest rating you can go as an enlisted personnel. The uniforms you see hanging up there are different uniforms that I wore during my 23-year career. When I hear anchors away and stuff, I still get a little choked up. Same with the Marine Corps. But I don't have a speech. The other day, I just thought I'd tell you what it was like being in the Navy. It had, like anything else, it's got its good days, bad days. You remember the good times and try to forget the bad times. But I'd like to talk to you a little about my military background first. I had one of my grandfathers served in France in World War I and was wounded by grenade shrapnel on his knee. My father enlisted in World War II, didn't see any combat. I enlisted right out of high school, which we'll get to that here in a minute. My oldest son is retired military. He spent 20 years in. Now I have a grandson that's he's in the Navy, and he's a 2009 PRB graduate. So he went in a month after he got out. I'm here to talk about the Navy, but first I need to talk about the son. I'd like to brag about my son. He retired from the Army after 20 years. He went into Iraq with the 3rd ID when we first went in 2003. He was in charge of a mortar platoon, and he was awarded the Bronze Star for his service while he was there. The main thing I want to point out is he spent 20 years in it. 14 was in the Army, and 6 was the Marine Corps. He loved the Marine Corps. I mean, he still loves the Marine Corps. He bleeds the Marine Corps. But the military had a thing called a RIF, which each branch had to get rid of a few people because the government thought they had too many people. Well, my son wanted to stay in the Marine Corps. He had all kinds of endorsements from his non-commissioned officers and officers that want him to stay in, but he was lacking one thing that kept him from re-enlisting in the Marine Corps. And that was a high school diploma. If he'd have had his high school diploma, he'd have retired from the Marine Corps. So that high school diploma is an important thing to have, no matter whether you're going in the military or a civilian job. But myself and my younger brother are Vietnam veterans. And I had somebody ask me one time how I could be a Vietnam veteran when I've never stepped foot in Vietnam. Navy had just as much to do in the Vietnam War as the people ashore. They had it rougher, but we were always on the gun line, patrolling up and down the our side area off the coast of Vietnam. The first ship, I was on 10 different ships in the Navy. The first ship I was on in Vietnam was a small little thing we called the DER. And our job was to go back and forth in our side area, making sure nobody smuggled anything into Vietnam that they weren't supposed to. And one of the times, there was a freighter came in and we were ordered to follow that to see where she was going to go. So we bird dogged her for about 3 or 4 days, and she went into Red China, mainland China. So we stayed 13 miles out, but we sort of had company. They sent a bunch of gunboats out to keep an eye on us. So we were surrounded by gunboats for a little while until skipper decided, well, it's time for us to leave. So it's kind of exciting. The year before that, they did the same thing, and the ship had went into Hong Kong, and they found out it had been loaded with all kinds of contraband. So that was one of the reasons we had to go after her. Like I said, I was on 10 ships. It was a 1 aircraft carrier, 1 repair ship, and numerous types of destroyers. But I need boot camp. Like I said, I graduated 22nd of May. I won't tell you when. And 24th of June, I was in Navy boot camp. And I got off this bus in Great Lakes, Illinois, walked through the gate of Camp Berry, and the first thing I heard was, "You'll be sorry." And I wasn't a good recruiter. I don't know how many times I went through intensive training which was after hours, and we went over and they put me through a bunch of calisthenics, push-ups, and whatever else I could think of their devious little minds. But we used to do it with an M1, and you stand around with an M1 like that for a while, it gets awfully heavy. But we used to have to curl our hands around it and do push-ups on a cement floor with our knuckles. So. But I never learned. I kept screwing up, kept having to go back. But the military period is not for everybody. I had a friend in my senior year who was kind of one of the tough guys in school. He decided he'd go into it, so I went in and he went in, and I went home on leave and ran into him, and he went into the Navy and couldn't handle it. They had to cut him loose from boot camp. He couldn't handle it. So. But first ship, like I said, the first ship I went on was an aircraft carrier, and they are quite large. I had to go up there, anchored out, so I went out by a boat. Went aboard the quarterdeck, and then I requested permission to come aboard and all that. I was inside the hangar bay. I mean, way bigger than this gym. So they took me up to the chief engineer's office to figure out where I was going to go. So they put me down in distribution. So they took me down to number 5 switchboard, which where I had to check in and find out what switchboard I was going to go to. So I'm down there, and the petty officer says, well, it's almost chow time, so go ahead and go to lunch. So off the lunch I go. It was a forward mess deck. They have 2 mess decks on an aircraft carrier. I went to the forward mess deck, got an 8 chow. Took me 2 hours to find EEO, the number 5 switchboard again. I mean, I wandered all over that carrier until I found it. I could not go above the hangar deck even after 10 months on it without getting lost trying to get back down to the main deck. And aircraft carriers like a city. Chief petty officers had a barber shop. Enlisted men had barber shops. Officers had their own barbers. You had camera stores on there. You had little soda something. You can go get sodas and stuff. It was just like a floating city. It was nice to see because you didn't really feel this like you did on a destroyer. You still see guys getting seasick. How? I don't know. I've never been able to figure that out. And I mentioned that my grandson graduated from here in 2009. He was aboard a very special ship. He was aboard the USS New York, LPD 21. What's special about the New York is her bow section was made of 7.5 tons of steel from the World Trade Centers. This is a pretty special ship. Navy has a terminology, all kinds. We don't call floors, we don't call walls. We have names for everything. We don't have restrooms, we don't have scuttlebutts, and we have our own lingo. So I got to see 30 countries while I was in the military. Some of them I've seen twice. Some of them I really liked, and others, well, I saw them. And some of them don't even exist anymore. They've changed their names. Like I said, I was a Vietnam vet. I don't know if I told you that. Somebody asked me how I could be a Vietnam vet without stepping short. Well, like I said, we spent a lot of time out on the gun line, supporting the ground forces up there. One of the things we used to have to do is we'd send harassment fire at night. Every 15 minutes, our gun mount would shoot a shell off, and this lasted all night. So this harassment stuff to keep the enemy awake. So, first cruise I made, I was on Kissing. We were there about 6 months. The second one I made, not only did we do gunfire, but we were also what they call plane guard. We used to have to follow behind an aircraft carrier in case the plane crashed or somebody got blown over the side. We'd be there to help rescue her. And I was on the DE, and we used to get called all the time to be a plane guard. And the reason being, we were the only ship of our class that could keep up with an aircraft carrier for some reason. We just so. But I left for 5 months, figured I'd come back. 10 months later, I finally made it home. And we spent all that time basically in the Philippines or for repairs or in the Vietnamese waters too. we were in the hiss of the first ship. As we were in Area 1 off the Da Nang, doing our thing. The day we got there, the water was beautiful, like glass. That was the last time we saw daylight for 30 days. It got so rough that we had to tie ourselves into our bunks to keep from getting thrown out. Yeah, as I said, it wasn't bad. To me, I consider it when you're aboard ship, it's like being in a cradle with a rock and sleep a little bit once you get used to it and stuff. But yeah, that was a fun time for them 30 days. My wife always told me that when I put my uniform on, I always stood taller. And I guess I did because I was proud of the uniform that I was wearing, and proud that I was in the United States Navy. And at the beginning, I told you I was a retired Navy Master Chief. The reason I emphasize Navy is Coast Guards also have Master Chiefs, and I wasn't in the Coast Guard. Navy has initiations for everything. Chief Lewis and I both tell you that two of the things we really wanted to see was becoming a shellback. You become a shellback when you cross the equator, not the equator. And there's an initiation we have to go through, and we won't go into what you have to do. But today's Navy is a kinder and gentler Navy, not like when I was in. So, and the other thing was when you became a chief petty officer, we had an initiation we had to go through, and I couldn't wait for either of them. I didn't care what they did to me. As long as I became a shellback, and as long as I put that chief petty officer uniform that the chief is wearing over there, I could do what he wants from me. I couldn't wait to do that. A normal day in the Navy, or I'll say in the Navy, is reveille would go at 6 o'clock in the morning, and the carrier lights on, you got reveille was by a bugle, but on a destroyer, they were always by a bosun pipe. And if you've never heard a bosun pipe, they're very irritating. Especially when they do a chow call. It seems to last forever. But, and then your day starts at 6, taps is at 10 o'clock, but in between you got a work day starting about 8 o'clock. But you also might have watches to stand. You might get up at 6 and have to be on watch at 8 o'clock. You're on watch till noon. You get off that, and then you got to work 4 hours. And that night you're back on at 8 o'clock. Or you might have a 16-hour day because you're working the 4-H watch in the morning. And you get out that watch, you still got 8 hours of work, and then you got to go back and watch. So it makes a long time. And somebody asked me once, isn't it boring, aboard ship? At times. But my favorite ship, like I said, the USS System, was commanded by Lieutenant Commander James A. Barber, Jr. Was the best commanding officer I ever had. But we were off the coast of Vietnam, and all of a sudden he'd stop the ship and swim call out in the middle of the South China Sea. So we get to have swim. But we, of course, we had somebody up on the 01 level with rifles as sharpshooters in case sharks or something showed up. And we might have barbecues. We had barbecues. I remember one time also they had skits. Had a bunch of sailors out there doing their thing with the little play acting and stuff. And we always had movies. Every night there was a movie. So I guess now they got, I think they call it Sight TV. I don't know if they still have movies or not. But you can always go watch. But then we'd play games. We'd have card games, contests, bingo, all kinds of stuff to keep yourself entertained and stuff. Like I said, the military's not for everybody. You have to have a liking for it. I guess I was one of the lucky ones that really took to it. And my wife can tell you the same thing she used to tell. Because when we got married, I said I was getting out of the Navy. And that was, I had 6 years in. They offered me something I wanted, so I said, well, I'm staying in. And then now she'll tell anybody when they ask her to read this, it's become a habit. This paper in front of me, I'll sign it, I don't care. But first 2 years I was in the Navy, don't talk to me about staying in, because I did not like it. I was ready to get out, and then something happened, and I said 23 years later, I retired for the second time. I retired from the Navy twice. I retired at the end of 20, and didn't like civilian life, and they let me come back in. So I spent another 3 years in, and one thing I regret is I didn't do the full 30. But like I said, it was well worth it. The wife and I both miss it. We never thought we would miss it, but we do. Like I said, it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. My son was one of those that liked it also. I said he's a Marine. So. And then the wife says I can talk about the Navy all day long, so that's how much I liked it. So some of the stuff we can't talk about here. But like I said, it has its ups and downs, and it all depends on the ship you're on, and the type of commanding officer, and that type of stuff, and the people you work with. I need to leave some time for the chief to talk. So, to closing, there's a song one of the people, somebody from our church wrote, and I'd like to go over that. It's pretty good. It's called "I Am a Veteran." You may not know me the first time we meet. I'm just another you see on the street, but I am the reason you walk and breathe free. I am the reason for your liberty. I am a veteran. I work in the local factory all day. I own the restaurant just down the way. I sell you insurance. I start your IV. I've got the best looking grandkids you'll ever see, which I do. I'm your grocer, your banker, your child's school teacher. I'm your plumber, your barber, your family's preacher. But there's part of me you don't know very well. Just listen a moment, I have a story to tell. I am a veteran. I joined the service while still in my teens. I traded my prom dress, I didn't wear a dress, for camouflage greens. I am the first in my family to do something like this. I followed my father like he followed his. Defying my fears and hiding my doubt, I married my sweetheart before I shipped out. I missed the Christmas, the Easter, the birth of my son. But I knew I was doing what had to be done. I served on the battlefront. I served on the base. I bound up the wounded and begged for God's grace. I gave orders to fire. I followed commands. I marched into conflict in far distant lands. In the jungle, the desert, the mountains and shores. In bunkers, in tents, on dark earthen floors. While I fought on the ground, in the air, on the sea. My families and friends were home praying for me. For the land of the free and the home of the brave, I faced my demons in foxholes and caves. Then one dreaded day, without drummer or fife, I lost an arm, my buddy lost his life. I came home and moved on, but forever was changed. The perils of war in my memory remain. I don't really say much, I don't feel like I can. I left home a child and came home a man. There are thousands like me, thousands more who are gone. But their legacy lives as time marches on. By crosses in rows and names carved in queue, remind us of what these brave souls had to do. I'm part of a fellowship, a strong, mighty band of each man and each woman who has served this great land. And when old glory waves, I stand proud, I stand tall. I help keep her flying over you, over all. I am a veteran. And that pretty much describes it. I used to have a bumper sticker on one of my old cars, and it stated, if you can read this, thank the teacher. If you can read it in English, thank the vet. Which is, where we would have been if it wasn't for the people in World War II, and, could be speaking Japanese, you could be speaking German, who knows. But thanks to the men in uniform in World War II, we're not. And one last thing, I got handed this morning. What is a veteran? A veteran, whether active, duty, discharged, retired, or reserved, is someone who at one point in his life wrote a blank check made payable to the United States of America for an amount of up to and including his life. That is an honor. There are way too many people in this country today who do not understand that fact. I am proud to be a veteran, and I thank you for letting me be here with you guys today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weaver. Now let's welcome Chief Jason Lewis from the U.S. Navy.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Outstanding. You guys get a chance to take a vote today. I woke up this morning and looked at the news, and they have a debate on whether or not they're going to move school time
to a later time so that kids can sleep in, because studies show that kids learn better. So right now, for the school hours that we have now, how many of you guys want to stick with waking up at the time you have now? All right, hands down. All right, so for this new initiative, and it's just up for vote, whether or not they change it or not, who knows. But who's for having a later time to sleep in? You like sleeping? All right, hands down. All right, I say that because as Master Chief spoke, he talked about how, you know, when he joined the Navy, we got up and reverently was 6 a.m. And whether or not they was making a decision for us to learn better or for us to work those 16 to 18 hours, we did it because of the pride of service. I want to talk to you guys a little bit about one of the pieces that's on my uniform. One of the things that I take great pride in, and one of the things that, you know, next to my relationship with God, having my first child and being married, these anchors on my shoulder represent so much to me. It's USN that's inscribed in the middle of an anchor that's filed. And for a couple of moments, I want to share with you what that means to me, what they mean to Master Chief. The U is for unity. It's for the many units that serve, because we serve with many branches. If you heard him speak, he talked about not just his time in the Navy, but he has a son that served in the Marines. He has family members that served in the Army. Just as I do. I have a nephew now that's presently in the Army, doing an outstanding job. He works in some chemist stuff. He was always some mathematician, so he's loving that. Don't understand what he does, but he's in uniform, right? One of my best friends are in the Air Force. I have Marines that I served with while I was on board the USS Iwo Jima, and I had a neighbor that was in the Coast Guard, and his wife made great cookies. So I think I'm unified on all fronts there, right? But that unity represents something that's very in-depth, and something that as I go through what we call a transition from being a regular enlisted E6 to the next rank, which is Chief. And if you ever meet somebody in the Navy and they said they went from E1 to E2, E3, 4, 5, 6, and they mess around and say they went to something else other than Chief, then you're not talking to a real Chief in the Navy. Sure, I got an increase in that pay grade when I rose from being an E6, but I got something a little bit more greater. I got a true understanding of what unity is. And I'll never forget one of the exercises that we went through as we learned what true unity was as I went through that transition. And it was something funny. One of the guys in class was a know-it-all. And so one of the chiefs, I think it was a Master Chief, that came into the classroom and he said this: "You guys got up at 05:30, late for lunch, late for chow, and I'm irritated. Who didn't know what time you needed to be here?" Somebody raised their hand. And the guy said these words: "I knew, Master Chief. I knew what time we needed to be there." The Master Chief points at him. He said, "Everybody look at that guy right there." He said, "That's the guy with the secret. He's the reason you're going to be on your faces for 2 hours doing push-ups because of that, right there." Funny but a valuable lesson. I learned something there. That guy that knew the real time that all of us needed to be up learned from that Master Chief what it meant to be in a unit. And it meant this, that don't be the one holding the secret. Don't be the only one show up at the proper time when your comrades, your classmates, your teammates, basketball, football, track, whatever it may be, they're thinking something else. And he was told that time by that same Master Chief just to see where his heart was. And it really was a heart test. Now, when we were E6s, to be the guy that had the answer, that knew it all, it was great. Everybody was happy for you, applauded you, you know it all. But that day that Master Chief came in here and his eyes turned red, and I saw his hairline go back 6 inches. and pointed at that kid and said, look at him, that's the guy with the secret. He went from being swelled with pride to say he knew the answer to feeling this small because he wasn't operating in a unit. That's the U. USN, the S for service. One of the things that, as you spoke, you know, if you don't have blood pumping in your vein when you hear a Master Chief or anybody for that matter in uniform for the young men that came in here with the flags and placed them up, if it don't do anything to you, then you might want to go to the school nurse right now because you might just be dead. As he spoke, it really reminded me of the opportunities that I have to serve. Number one, for this holiday that we celebrate that I think your grandfather served in France, the Treaty of Versailles was signed on the 11th hour in the 11th month, on the 11th day of that month. That gives us this opportunity to celebrate this day, where a lot of people made a great sacrifice for the chance to serve their country. And I want to thank you for having somebody in your generation that gives us a chance to be in a band and sit in the auditorium at a time we should be in class, right? Who wants to be in class right now? Show your hand. That's the guy right there with the ass in the blue shirt. It gives us this opportunity. It gives us a chance to stop, shift rudders, and really pay tribute to some people that really has gone before me, because I'm a youngster in this Master Chief. Only been in 17 years, 3 kids, a wife, and I realized that if it hadn't been for the sacrifice of your grandparents, the sacrifices of your son that served in the war, at that time, we gained a great benefit in the Navy, in all the services. Because for all the guys that served at the time that your son was served in that war, after 9/11, we got what's called the 9/11 GI Bill. Now, if you're not familiar with the GI Bill, it's the credits that we have, an opportunity we have to go to college in the United States Armed Forces. Army, Navy, Marines, Coast Guard. And because of that benefit, once we're out of the military, free ride to school wherever we go. College paid for, finish our degree. Well, after 9/11, which, wow, coincidentally is on the 11th, right? November the 11th, right? That day represented us getting a new benefit. And because of that, because of your son's sacrifice, my wife and kids have my benefit that I gained for putting up my right hand saying, I swear to God, country, and everybody in here that I serve, they can go to college. All expenses paid. Right now, matter of fact, my wife is taking college classes as a childhood educator, and she's not paying 1 red cent for it. But there's a scene going on behind her that she knows because I'm in uniform, but I think a lot of times we miss as Americans that somebody sacrificed for us to be able to go to school, go to college, take advantage of the opportunity to be where we are now. And I'm thankful for days like this that we can actually sit back and pay tribute to people like Master Chief and the young men you see sitting here. Because every other country in the world does not do what we do. They don't do what the USA does. They don't stop and pay homage to the people that really have them where they are. That's what makes you Americans. So that S and USN for me, that service, I think for me is my favorite portion of that because I know now and realize that if it hadn't been for those people that have gone before me, I wouldn't have an opportunity to serve. My wife and kids, college wouldn't be paid for. I'm from Mobile, Alabama, and because of another conflict that one of your well-trained young men were in, Gulf War, you see it, right? Well, during the Gulf War, somebody got patriotic again. And it must have been one of the senators in Alabama that went to Congress and said, hey, we got service members down there that have families that want to send their kids to college. Let them go for free. And in the same way you guys raise your hand for that couple of hours of sleep, I guarantee you everybody in the Senate raised their hand and said, give it to them. So my 3 little girls are going to be galloping somewhere in Alabama, going to school, all expenses paid, preferably Auburn University, War Eagle, my favorite team. Preferably there, but wherever they go, as long as they go somewhere. They join the Navy, good for them. They join the Army, good for them. But thank you for that. Thank you because my daughters can go. Thank you that you raised your son right, because now my daughters can go to college. And I don't have to pay for it. I can go fishing and get a boat. Don't tell my wife I said that, please. Not here. Navigation. Navigation for me is a valuable one. As the young man sat up here and spoke, I was reminded of myself in high school. The little stud walking around campus. What you say, you was the best one on the team. All-American track, All-American football, played a little basketball. I could have cared less about going to any branch of service. Cared less about it. For all intents and purposes, I had 3 letters sent to my home in my junior year in high school that had college paid for either track, football, or because of my arts. Had the grades, had the right scores and all the right tests, and it was the thing to do. If you're familiar with anything as it concerns football down south, you guys are college football fans, you look at the SEC, a lot of those players come from Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi. Well, that was the thing to do down there. But I'll never forget, I have an uncle. Never knew this. He was my favorite uncle. He was born on the same day I was born, September 18th. And I think after a conversation with him once, he told me he did 4 years in the Navy. Never knew it. He was sheriff at the time. And I always known to be in uniform as a sheriff. And he would come to my home periodically, throw me a couple of words of wisdom, put me to sleep. Wake up. What you say? And I would be impressed with the fact that he was serving in the sheriff's department. Everybody knew him. He was part of all these organizations in the community. But little did I know, he planted a seed in the back of my head. And one day on campus, middle of my senior year, I walked up to the Navy recruiter and I said, let me get your card. He's like, oh, here. And I said, I'm going to call you. I'm going to come take the ASVAB next week. 17 years later, here I am. USN, Unity Service Navigation. I didn't know that my uncle set a moral compass in me that set off something in me that already existed and lived. Because I flashed back about 7 years earlier than my senior year in high school, and I thought back in middle school. Then I thought back a couple of years earlier to elementary, and in elementary it was funny. Me and my best friend, DeMarcus Recovery, still remember his name. His head was bigger than mine also. And at the end of every single class, we would have a race to see who finished our work first. We would turn it in to the teacher, but then back when I was in school, we wrote on line papers that had the lines on there. And at the bottom of the page, I'd draw a line, and I'd draw a little ship, and it'll be an aircraft carrier, Master Chief. And it'll have the little planes flying around it, and I always drew that little circle with the little star in the middle with the little stripes on the side. And we would just draw and have our little wars while we were in class, after we finished our work. And so fast forwarding to me, talking to the recruiter, 12th grade, for all intents and purposes, I'm going to college to play football and do what everybody else is doing. That compass, that navigator, that end, that USN, that my uncle really ignited in me, set me on course to be where I am today, standing before you, serving 17 years, having been on board the Dwight D. Eisenhower, USS Iwo Jima, one of the finest ships you can serve in, one of the greatest battles that a Marine could ever fight in. Booyah to the Devil Dogs, and live in Rota, Spain for 3 years and literally take 3 años vacation, all expenses paid, Navy. Muy bien. Learned Spanish, went out and ate bread and put olive oil on it. That was breakfast there. Came back to America and decided that I wanted to go back and do something that was a little bit more significant than having all the fun and working 18 hours a day. I was at ABF down in the pump room. My cologne was jet fuel, JP5. I smelled like that. The purple shirts smelled like that 24 hours a day off the coast of Israel when they were conflicting, and was able to see kids with sharp metal and young women coming off that helicopter down into our medical lab to be treated, to come back to America and say, man, I want to do something a little bit more significant. I've led a lot of people. I've led Marines. I've led Air Force. I've gone to at least 19 countries. And believe it or not, still wasn't satisfied. That little navigation compass that my uncle set off for me just wasn't satisfied. I said, you know something, I want to be a Navy counselor now. After all these years in aviation, I want to be a Navy counselor. And I want to go back and go recruit for the rest of my time in the Navy. And so I did. I came down to New Orleans, Louisiana, converted, switched over to being a Navy counselor, and said, look, for the rest of the time I'm in the Navy, I'm going to tell crazy, staying on the phone till 2 in the morning with their boyfriend and girlfriend and playing World of Warcraft high school students about the Navy and attempting to set that moral compass off in that 1 or 2 that's actually going to be standing in front of a class of teachers and veterans and doing something that they never would have imagined themselves doing. I'm going to talk to somebody that eventually would be that Marine or that Army guy or that Coast Guard or that Navy guy that says, hey, I want to be the one. I want to be the one to put up my right hand and serve. And when I made that decision, it was I had the most peace in my mind about that decision than almost any other time that I signed those papers and decided to re-enlist and continue on my Navy career, because there within that, I found out my purpose. After 17 years in and living an adventure and everything rolling up into this moment, I found my purpose was to go out and find myself 17 years earlier. And so, for those of you that are sitting here, for those star athletes, for the nerd that's sitting in the back of the classroom and just keep fiddling around with this or that, you might be that electrician, you might be that nuclear engineer, you might be that next Blue Angels pilot, you might be that Navy SEAL, you might be that Army Ranger, you might be that devil dog that goes out and does something great. You might be the one sitting in your parents' bedroom saying, hey mom, I'm about to go and put my right hand up, and no, you're not. Yes. Yes, I am. And it has been the most proudest thing that I could do. And what gets me now, as I close with you, is when somebody comes up to me and shakes my hand, and they hold on to it for far past 2 or 3 shakes, and they look at me and they say these words: thank you for your service.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. The chamber choir and women's choir will now sing their selection of songs.
Flanders has been the scene of repeated warfare from the time of the Crusades in the 12th century through the Hundred Years' War in the 14th century, and from the Spanish Wars in the 1600s and 1700s to extraordinary battles during World War I. In 1919, Dr. John McCrae wrote the stirring poem entitled In Flanders Fields. In 15 short lines, McCrae captures the courage, valor, awe, and stark reality of war. The images he invokes of young people's lives, once so full of hope and beauty, vanquished by the ravages of warfare. These are some of the most moving ever penned. To this day, it continues to be an emotional salute to the young women and men who have given their lives in warfare, protecting the lands, the people, and the dreams we cherish the most. His challenge to take up the torch of the fallen warriors is as desperate a challenge to remember it as any you will find in the English language.
Flanders fields upon
We're going to take this time to recognize the vets within our school. We have Mr. Jim Niskanen, Steve Nelson, Chuck Weaver, Tracy Geshwell, Jacqueline Ein, Carl Flair, and Rusty Lockhart. If you could all stand. And any other veteran that just so happens to be here, if you would stand as well. We thank you for everything you've ever done for our country, for all of your hard work, and the countless hours you have put in. Now please join us in our flag closing as Mr. Kidser plays taps.
Forward. Forward.
Thank you for coming to our 2015 Veterans Day program. We have a POW poster on the back wall. Feel free to write the name of a veteran or say thank you, whatever you feel. You can now report to your third hour class. You are dismissed.